I'm 85 years old, and I'm finally starting to understand why my children don't call anymore. It took me this long to see it. That's the part that keeps me up at night. Not that it happened, but that I couldn't see it while it was happening. I have 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. They're all alive, all doing well from what I can gather. They have families of their own now. Grandchildren I barely know. They live within driving distance, but the phone doesn't ring much. Holidays are polite, brief.
For years, I told myself they were just busy. That's what you do when you're young, right? You build your life. You focus on your career, your kids, your mortgage. I understood that. I did the same thing. But lately, when I sit in this house that's too quiet, I've been thinking about the real reason, and it's not what I wanted to believe. I was a provider. That's how I saw myself. That was my job as a father. I worked in insurance for 38 years. Not exciting, but steady. I made sure there was food on the table, clothes on their backs, a good roof over their heads. We took 1 vacation a year. I paid for their college. All 3 of them graduated without debt. I thought that's what mattered. I remember my youngest, Sarah. She must have been 7 or 8. She made something in art class, some kind of clay bird, painted blue. She was so excited to show me when I got home from work. I remember her running up to me at the door, holding it in both hands. I was tired. It had been a long day. I looked at it, said, "That's nice, honey," and walked past her to get a beer and sit down. She stood there for a second, then took it to her room. I didn't think about it again until last year. She mentioned it during one of our short phone calls, not in an angry way, just as a memory that came up. She laughed a little when she said it, but I could hear something else underneath. That happened a lot, I think, those little moments. When my oldest, Michael, had his first piano recital, I had a client meeting that ran late. I missed it. My wife recorded it on the camcorder, showed me later. I watched maybe 2 minutes before I got distracted by something. When David made the basketball team in 9th grade, I went to a few games, but I brought work with me. Sat in the bleachers with folders on my lap. He'd look up at me sometimes during timeouts. I'd give him a thumbs up, then go back to my paperwork. I thought I was doing the right thing, providing, being responsible, making sure they had opportunities I never had. But I wasn't there, not really. I was in the house, but I was somewhere else. At the dinner table, but thinking about tomorrow's appointments, in the car with them, but silent, tired, already planning the next thing. My wife used to try to tell me, not directly, because that wasn't how we talked back then, but she'd say things like, "Michael asked if you could throw the ball with him this weekend," or, "Sarah's school play is Tuesday night." I'd say yes, I'd be there, and sometimes I was, but even when I showed up, I wasn't present. I was checking my watch, thinking about what I needed to do next, waiting for it to be over so I could get back to what felt important. Work felt important. Work had clear goals, clear results. You solved a problem. You closed a deal. You got a paycheck. You knew you did something. Being a father didn't feel that way. It felt vague, endless. You couldn't check it off a list, so I prioritized what felt concrete. The years went fast. You hear people say that, but you don't believe it until you're on the other side. One day they're in elementary school. Then suddenly they're teenagers who don't want to talk to you. Then they're packing for college. Then they're gone. I thought we'd reconnect later, when things slowed down, when I retired, when we all had more time. But that's not how it works. By the time I retired at 67, they had their own lives, their own routines, their own families, and I was just someone they used to live with. I'd call and they'd answer, but the conversations were thin, surface level. "How's work? How are the kids? Weather's been nice." 3 minutes, and we'd run out of things to say, because we never built anything deeper. My wife died 4 years ago. Heart attack. Sudden. The kids came for the funeral. They stayed a few days, helped me sort through her things, then went home. I remember sitting in the kitchen after they left, looking at the empty chairs around the table and realizing something. They weren't avoiding me because they were angry. They were distant because we were strangers. You can live in the same house with people for 18 years and still be strangers if you never really let them in. If you never asked them the real questions, if you never told them what you were afraid of, or proud of, or confused by. I knew their grades and their schedules, but I didn't know them, and they didn't know me. I tried to fix it after my wife died, started calling more, asking more questions, but it felt forced, awkward, like trying to learn a language too late in life. David comes by maybe once every 2 months, brings his kids. They're polite. The grandchildren call me Grandpa, but they don't run to me the way Sarah ran to me with that clay bird. They sit on the couch and wait for their dad to say it's time to go. Michael lives the closest, but I see him the least. I think I remind him of something he doesn't want to think about. Maybe his own kids, maybe the same mistakes. Sarah calls on my birthday and Father's Day. We talk for 10, maybe 15 minutes. She asks if I need anything. I say no. She says she'll try to visit soon. We both know she won't. I don't blame them. That's the hardest part. I can't even be angry about it because I understand now. I earned this, not through cruelty, not through abuse or neglect in the obvious ways, but through 1,000 small absences, 1,000 moments where I chose something else, where I told myself there'd be time later. There wasn't. You can't get those years back. You can't go back and sit through the whole recital. You can't go back and really look at the clay bird. You can't go back and put the folders away and just watch the game. I'm 85 now. I don't have much time left. I know that. I can feel it. And what I'm left with is a house full of things that don't matter and a phone that doesn't ring. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Maybe because you still have time. Maybe because your kids are still young, or you're still young yourself. I thought I was being a good father by providing, by working hard, by making sure they had everything they needed. But what they needed was me, not my paycheck, not my discipline, not my occasional thumbs up from the bleachers. Just me, present, listening, there. And I wasn't. I keep thinking about that clay bird. I wonder what happened to it. If she kept it or threw it away years ago. I'd give everything I have to go back to that moment at the door and stop, to really look at it, to ask her about it, to sit down with her and let her tell me how she made it and why she chose blue. But I can't. All I have now is this quiet house and the understanding that came too late. If you have children and they want to show you something, stop. Just stop whatever you're doing and look. Really look, because one day you'll be old, and they'll be gone, and you'll finally understand what you missed, and there's no fixing it.